What's up, lore masters? Today we'll be doing a Lorecraft episode and theorizing what would have happened if the Terran Empire invaded the Alpha and Beta Quadrants. Feel free to give me your thoughts in the comments on if you agree with what I've put here or how you would have done it. Before we can really get into the events though, we need to set the criteria about when the invasion occurred and what advantages existed between all of the powers. For the purposes of this scenario, the invasion of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants occurs in the late 21st century, early 25th, and this will of course be post-Dominion War. We will be assuming that the events of Deep Space Nine did not occur when it comes to that of the Mirror Universe, which is no real loss since Deep Space Nine had an incredibly bad story arc in regards to the Terran Empire. Frankly, I hate that they destroyed the Terran Empire if I'm being honest. So yeah, I mean the Dominion War happened, everything else happened, but the Terran Empire will have continued to progress and become the Mirror Starfleet. Looking at the Terran Empire, they would also have a technological advantage given the ravaging and enslaving of most of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants. This would include the destruction and enslavement of the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Star Empire, and others. All of their systems, including their weapon systems, would be a mishmash of technologies allowing for cloaking tech, advanced phaser and disruptor technology, as well as other advantages themselves. However, Starfleet would have superior engineers, and unlike the Terran Empire, have cohesive systems that would be better integrated into the ships. Additionally, there would be some semblance of the Federation alliance that had existed during the Dominion War era. So Starfleet would still have some of its allies, if not all of its allies. And lastly, while I'm not going to go into it a lot, if at all here, both sides would be presumed to have their heroes. You'd have Picard, Mirror Picard, Evil Janeway, and then the good Mirror Universe Janeway, and so forth. So with the basic rules out of the way, the invasion would begin at, where else? The Bajoran sector. In the Bajoran system, when considering what and who would be stationed at Deep Space Nine, after the Dominion War, I imagine they had at least one fleet stationed there along with auxiliary craft. And this fleet would most likely be Starfleet. It's possible that the other powers would have some craft to assist with, but for the most part, I think that Starfleet would be the main force there, especially given that Bajor joined the Federation. And of course, it would be somewhat fortified due to the proximity of the wormhole to the Dominion, as well as the Cardassian territory. So with all the pieces set, the Starfleet ships based at Bajor, as well as Deep Space Nine itself, would begin to pick up some weird sensor readings coming from the wormhole. The generally blue phenomenon would begin to turn pink and then blood red. What can only be described as lightning would arc out of the aperture, and the wormhole would not close from this point on. All of a sudden, ships matching the configuration of Starfleet designs would scream out of the wormhole. However, these ships would be different, heavily modified. Still reminiscent of Starfleet, but souped up Starfleet versions. The initial strike of the Terran Empire would obliterate civilian and military assets alike, especially those within the range of the wormhole. From there, Terran forces would quickly head to Deep Space Nine. Starfleet assets would rally, staying within Deep Space Nine's perimeter, utilizing the station's powerful defenses to hold the line. However, while this battle was occurring, another fleet would emerge from the now red wormhole and make its way towards Bajor. When in range, the secondary Terran Empire fleet would begin to fire on the planet, specifically targeting population centers. This would put Starfleet in a tough place. Starfleet would have to make an unwinnable decision. Do they split up, devastatingly weakening the line of Deep Space Nine, or leave Bajor to be ravaged? Well, we're talking about Starfleet here, so a contingent of Starfleet ships would break off and engage the secondary fleet. But the situation was hopeless. Starfleet was outnumbered. As the battle continued, Federation assets would start to dwindle. All would seem lost. And then, in the midst of the battle, the commander of the Terran Empire would offer to spare the lives of Bajor if Deep Space Nine and Starfleet ships surrendered and lowered their shields. And, again, I do think that Starfleet would acquiesce. Even if they didn't believe the Terran Empire would honor its word, what other choice did they have? They could fight and have the same result, or they could give in to hope. Both Deep Space Nine and the Defenders would lower their shields. Ironically, I believe the Terran Empire would be true to its word. They would stop firing on Bajor. They would take the Starfleet officers prisoner and then ultimately destroy any other Starfleet vessels. After securing the Bajoran sector, all alien species that served with Starfleet, including the Bajoran militia, would be publicly executed. And this would be broadcast across the Alpha and Beta Quadrants. From the operations deck of Deep Space Nine, the Emperor of the Terran Empire would declare the Prime Universe under the protection of her tender mercies, and demand that all governments submit to the will of Imperial forces or face destruction. Not waiting on an answer, this of course wouldn't stop Imperial forces from committing a Blitzkrieg into the Klingon-held territories near the Cardassian border, the Cardassian territory itself, and Federation space. The goal of these attacks would be multifaceted at this point. In this phase of the attack, they would want to completely secure Cardassian space and create a beachhead into Federation space, creating distance between the headquarters at the wormhole and Starfleet territory. This would allow for more time for forces to come through to reinforce Imperial troops. While there would be fleets within Cardassian territory, most likely both Klingon and Starfleet, it seems likely that the Cardassian territory would fall and the Klingon, Cardassian, and Starfleet forces would either falter, retreat, or be destroyed. This would give the Terran Empire effective control over Cardassian space, Bajoran space, and a foothold into Federation territory. Before we end this scenario, I'll go ahead and take a moment to discuss the wormhole and how this occurred. In this scenario, the Mirror Universe wormhole aliens would have been the Pah-wraiths. Realizing the power and abilities of the Pah-wraiths, Captain Sisko, their avatar in the Mirror Universe, would convince them to allow the Empire to invade the Prime Universe. The Pah-wraiths would be able to defeat the Prophets of the Prime Timeline, and of course the Empire would gain another foothold. This attack would, of course, leave the Alpha Quadrant powers reeling. So how was Starfleet to respond? How would the other empires respond? Would the Federation alliance be rekindled? Or would they all try to take on the Empire by themselves? Would the Romulans look at Starfleet and see what they could be and decide to attack both Starfleet and the Terran Empire? I guess we're going to have to find out on the next one. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like these types of scenarios, please consider becoming a patron for as low as $1 a month. You get special perks, behind the scenes, and once I've reached my $2,000 mark, I can make videos like these longer and not worry about the algorithm. Check me out at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. Lore Reloaded is completely reliant on fans like you. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and guys, I'm going to see you on the next. Wait for it.